It's Monday, August 3rd, and here's what you need to know by noon. President Trump says there's a deal with Iran on the Strait of Hormuz. Iran says there isn't. Plus, oil gives back the war premium. Washington and Tokyo buy yen together for the first time since 1998. Spokane is burning, hundreds of buildings gone, 60,000 people out of their homes. And Friday brings the jobs number everything else is waiting on. Start with Iran, because something happened over the weekend that hasn't happened before in this war. The two sides stopped agreeing on what they've agreed to. Here's the sequence. Late Saturday, the president wrote that he had called off a planned large-scale military attack on Iran because, his phrase, the perimeters of a deal had been reached. Then on Sunday, aboard Air Force One, he went further. Quote, "There's a deal on Hormuz, and then there will be a deal on the nuclear, or you might call it the denuclearization of Iran." He said talks resumed today. Within hours, Iran said no. A source on Iran's negotiating team told the Fars news agency, quote, "There is no agreement on resuming shipping through the Strait of Hormuz, and the reports spread on this score are false." The Mehr agency, citing military officials, called the president's claim that Iran had asked him to hold off, quote, "nothing but a new lie." And Iran's foreign ministry spokesman, Esmail Baghaei, said the understanding Iran does have is with Oman, on safe passage for vessels, and, his words, "it does not mean the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz." This morning Baghaei went a step further. Iran, he said, is, quote, not currently holding talks with the United States, and he narrowed the Oman understanding down to almost nothing. It is, his words, solely a prerequisite for regulating maritime traffic. What that describes is a technical shipping arrangement, a separation scheme that keeps vessels in lanes, with the strait itself still closed. So as of this recording, there are no direct U.S.-Iran talks that either government has confirmed, and the one thing Iran says it has agreed to is a traffic rule. So what's actually real? A narrow technical negotiation between Iran and Oman over a new shipping lane through the strait, a genuinely different route from the two that exist now. Iran's foreign minister says it's in its final stages, but the sticking points are not small ones. Who clears the mines? Whose waters the lane runs through? And money. Oman has floated making the transit fee voluntary. Iran has asked for $1 million a ship, and none of this is a ceasefire. There isn't one. The truce signed in Islamabad in June collapsed last month. On July 30th, American forces struck southern Iran in what Central Command described as a heavy wave. Command centers, missile and drone sites, coastal defenses. The next day, Iran launched drones at an air base in Kuwait. Kuwait's defense ministry said it intercepted and destroyed them, with damage but no casualties. The naval blockade of Iranian ports is still running. What changed this weekend is that an attack was called off, and that Saudi Arabia's crown prince and Iran's foreign minister both spent Saturday night working the phones to get it called off. Now the money, and this weekend produced two big moves in it. Oil first, because it's the market's verdict on that first story. Brent crude is down about 4.5% this morning, sitting near $84 a barrel. Put that next to where it was 10 days ago. On July 23rd, it closed above $100 a barrel, the highest since May, and touched $102 during that day's trading. So it's given back roughly a sixth of its value in a week and a half. Two reasons: the attack that didn't happen, and supply. OPEC-plus met Sunday and agreed to add another 188,000 barrels a day in September, which finishes unwinding a cut the group first made back in 2023. Worth keeping in perspective, though. July was still oil's biggest month since March, up about 24%. This is a retreat from a spike, not a collapse. At the pump, the most recent numbers we can stand behind are from the federal government's weekly survey taken July 27th. regular gas at $4.10 a gallon nationally. The sharper story is diesel, at $5.31 and up close to 40% from a year ago. Diesel is what moves freight, so that one shows up in prices later. Now the one almost nobody saw coming. On Friday, the United States Treasury and Japan's Ministry of Finance bought yen together, a joint intervention in the currency market. Japan's finance ministry confirmed it in a statement this morning, saying it acted to counter, quote, excessive volatility and disorderly movements in the Japanese yen. Here's why that matters. The last time Washington and Tokyo jointly bought yen was 1998, during the Asian financial crisis. You'll see some coverage today, say the first since 2011. That's the wrong comparison. The 2011 operation went the other direction. The G7 sold yen to weaken it after the tsunami. This is the opposite trade, and it's the first of its kind in nearly 30 years. The yen had fallen to just under 164 per dollar in late July, its weakest against the dollar since 1986. It jumped to a 3-month high overnight before easing back. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said the United States will not hesitate to participate in further joint intervention. Japan's finance minister, Satsuki Katayama, used almost the identical phrase, and the president's explanation, aboard that same plane on Sunday, was about as plain as it gets. Quote, they have a weakening yen, and they wanted a little bit of help. And we're always there for Japan. One more, and it's the hardest one in today's show. Spokane, Washington is on fire. Officials say at least 640 buildings, homes, businesses, outbuildings were destroyed on Saturday alone, and the city's fire chief called that count low. Roughly 60,000 people are under evacuation orders, including patients moved out of the Veterans Affairs Hospital. Estimates of how many more buildings are in the fire's path range from 4,000 to 5,000. As of the last official update, none of it was contained. The largest of the fires, called Old Trails, started west of the city, ran northeast through Riverside State Park, jumped the river, and burned into neighborhoods in northwest Spokane. Winds gusted to 44 miles an hour Saturday with humidity around 20%. The assistant fire chief, Lance Dahl, put it this way: there's not a fire department in the United States that can handle a wind-driven event this size. On deaths, be careful with what you hear today. No deaths have been confirmed, but the mayor, Lisa Brown, says officials are still assessing whether lives were lost, and the sheriff's office has been taking missing persons reports. That's not the same as an all clear, and the honest answer this morning is that nobody knows yet. Governor Bob Ferguson declared a statewide wildfire emergency Saturday, activated the National Guard, and banned most outdoor burning across Washington through the end of September, citing a record-setting drought. He asked the federal government for a disaster declaration Sunday. As of this recording, it hasn't been granted. For scale, the fires that hit this same area in 2023 destroyed about 710 structures and killed 2 people. This one has already come close to that in a single day. The cause is under investigation. The winds ease today and then build again Thursday. There's also power and air to worry about. The utility cut electricity to more than 40,000 customers as a safety measure Saturday, and thousands were still dark Sunday. And by Sunday night, Spokane's air quality index had hit 200, the unhealthy band for everyone, not just sensitive groups, with smoke expected to sit over the city. Finally, what to watch? Friday brings the July jobs report. Economists expect about 85,000 new jobs after a weak June. That's the number that decides how loud the argument inside the Federal Reserve gets. The one we told you about Friday when 3 of its own officials broke ranks. Before that, earnings from AMD and Palantir midweek. That's Monday. Caught up. A deal one side says exists and the other says doesn't. Oil giving back its war premium. 2 governments buying yen together for the first time since the 90s. And a city in Washington counting what's left. We keep it straight, and we keep it quick. This is No by Noon. See you tomorrow.